Okay, guys, here we are once again. That means it's a new week, right?
Good morning.
Mhm.
Good
Good
morning.
Good
morning.
morning.
Faster and faster every time.
Yes, and yesterday there was a terrific World Series game, and we all had a lot of fun, right? No, it was the Super Bowl, of course.
Are
Did
you
everyone
trying to
watch the
catch
game?
us?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys watch the game?
Yep.
Yeah. Did
I
you enjoy it?
watched it.
But yeah,
What?
we didn't really watch it. We
You
just
didn't
kind
watch
of,
it. You watched the
No,
commercials and the
that's a
halftime show.
halftime show.
and we were busy
I watched it.
Googling,
No,
is
not
Rihanna
one commercial
pregnant?
caught my
Is Rihanna...
Trisha watched the game. You were interested in Rihanna and her possible baby stomach. And what's
I
the
know
verdict on that, by
a
the way?
pregnant belly when I see one.
I think it was
she's not
confirmed.
pregnant, yeah, we can help
It was.
her. Okay, good.
We can help
All
her.
right. Good for Rihanna.
We
Look at
offer
her out there.
babysitting
What a
services.
soldier. What?
Why, you could function while you're pregnant.
I know, but come on. I mean, she's in front of the whole world dancing and singing. I mean,
Good
that
for
seems
her.
pretty tough to me. I don't know.
And high up, like, I don't know if I'd be able to go that high up.
Yes, that's another thing,
Well,
right? She
that's
was
true.
pregnant,
Yeah, she was
right?
high up. She was
Yeah.
harnessed in.
I would hope so.
I mean, I would require a harness in order to go
Yeah.
that high.
Imagine she gave birth right then and there. How much fun would that have been?
Yeah.
Like she was
Oh,
up
yeah, lovely.
100 feet above the stadium, and there it goes. The
Here comes the baby.
kid comes
That's
out
not,
right
that's
there.
not the view. That's not the view I want. I don't want to be at the bottom.
Exactly.
No,
Oh,
thank
boy.
you.
Okay, so we have a lot to talk about today. We might be being joined by one of our clients who has had phenomenal results. But the fact of the matter is that yesterday was the Super Bowl. Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. So this goes along with my theory that there is a conspiracy. They want us fat and unhealthy, and they're doing a good job in many cases, and we are fighting against that. And actually, this week is Heart Health Month. So we're going to be talking a little bit about heart health today as well. You know, you have to take care of your health, Trisha, it seems to me. You have to take care of your heart, both in a physical way and in an emotional way.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's true. I mean, nobody wants to, have heart issues young in life. It's good to get a handle on it now. I think
Or
that's
heartbreak?
or heartbreak. Yeah, I guess for some, not for myself, but yeah, for some.
Good. Yes. You've been with the same gentleman for how long now? Like 50 years or so?
Like 26 years.
Since you were in the womb.
Literally.
Pretty
Right,
much.
exactly. I'm only 21. I mean,
There you
That's
go.
crazy.
All right. So, yes, we all have to take care of our hearts. So, we are going to talk about that today. Jackie, when you came up with this topic, it seems like you had a very specific focus about not only heart health, but about how certain foods affect it.
Right. It's, heart health, I feel like there are certain things that we're just told, just avoid them, just avoid them. And I feel like there are so many healthy alternatives that people just don't consider and like, oh, that's gross. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, it won't taste good. And the truth is, you don't have to sacrifice good food and flavor and your life to be healthy. And I think that when I was thinking about this, it was really more of a conversation I was having with my dad. And he's like, no sodium. Sodium's bad for you. You can't have any sodium. And pink salt. My son puts, pink salt on his cucumbers. And he loves pickled foods. And so does my daughter and us in general. And I'm like, no, but if the more you know about your body and understand how foods actually can help you, I think the more open you become to your health journey. I think it gives you more options.
Let's get into this a little bit because there are some myths about this and there are some controversies as well.
Agreed.
Right? And again, I've said this before, but I feel like, doctors sometimes think we're stupid and they give us just very easy, simple answers.
Yeah.
So, and salt is one of these things. Before we talk about that, though, we do have some great promotions because we're trying to help people. We have 35 days until spring. And one of the things we're doing is we're offering a 10-day program for people. It's only $299. The idea is, again, no barriers to entry. You could jump in. It doesn't take a long time. In 10 days, who knows? You could lose 5 to 15 pounds. begin reversing any, heart stuff that you may have. No promises there, but it's only a 10-day program. But it's really
Sugar?
awesome, and people love this idea, like a quick cleanse, a quick effective cleanse. So if you're interested in that, give us a call. We're also still doing our Valentine's Day promo where we're trying to assist couples. We're promoting love, basically. So, and it does not only have to be couples, but anyone you love, anyone who shares
Sure.
your heart, not literally. You can have them. They would get a big discount on the program, whatever program we recommend to them, 14% off. And then you, as a reward, get a gift, which is a 10-day bottle, which you can use on your next program. All right. So let's talk a little bit about salt, because here's the thing. We need salt. This idea of just avoiding salt is a bit absurd. I mean, salt plays a large role in our cells. Salty, before refrigeration, what did they do to
Salt.
ensure that food didn't go bad?
Salt.
Salt. Salt was as expensive as gold. And there's expression salt of the earth. I mean, salt is absolutely necessary. And this whole idea of avoiding salt is a little bit bizarre when you think of it in that perspective. Now, there is a problem with table salt. Does anyone know what it is?
I believe it's because it's processed. It's not pure. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. So if we think about it, like all salt comes from the ocean. We make this distinction between white table salt and between, sea salt.
Sea salt.
All salt comes from the sea, or it did at one point. Like there are salt caves in Utah.
Started.
Apparently, Utah was under the sea at one point. So the problem is that for table salt, they take this great sea salt and they kill it. They heat it up to I don't know if it was 600 or 1600 degrees or something like that. They kill all the nutrients. And then they add one back. They add iodine back. So now all you really have is one nutrient from a salt that started out with 80 nutrients. So this is part of it. And then the other thing that they do is they put in other things like silica, which is kind of like what they make glass from. I mean, they're putting in sand. And that's what can really scratch up like the blood vessels. And that, it seems like, is probably the real culprit when they've done studies about salt and how salt affects the heart and the cardiovascular system. I'm not saying anything absolutely, because, there are always controversies. If you ask your cardiologist, he'll probably tell you, just avoid salt and shut your mouth. But that's not how we go about things.
Just avoid salt, and if you need to, take these water pills.
It's like a self-referral practice, right? I'm a chiropractor by trade or by training, and it's like if I handed out skateboards to everybody. Great self-referral mechanism, right?
No helmet, no pads.
There you go. So let me ask this: what have you guys heard about salt? What have your doctors told you? What have you heard from your family and friends, Corinne?
So for me, you're told to just avoid salt. It's not good for your heart. It causes inflammation in your body when you have too much salt. Your joints swell up.
That can happen. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. That's
Okay,
what I've
got
always
it.
been
And
told.
you've been told this by who and for how long?
You're told that by your doctors. I mean, I generally do not cook with salt, just because I never did. We never grew up eating it. That's all.
Got it. Okay, good. Yes, there is a balance, right? If you have too much salt is supposed to be kind of opposed by potassium. So there's definitely a balance between salt and potassium. And if there is too much salt, then you can have swelling and you can have some kind of symptoms or signs like that.
Right.
And yeah, some people, they have too much sodium. It's more specifically thought of as sodium, right? As opposed to salt.
Yes.
If the sodium is not mitigated by a lot of these other minerals, between that and those additives that we talked about, then that can certainly cause some swelling of the joints. Trish, what have you heard from your either family physician, from your family itself?
So I'm a salt person. I love salty foods opposed
You're
to the
salty.
sweet. Yes, I love it. Yes, very salty. Not in the negative way, but I do enjoy salty food. But I, was told to stay away from it. It causes high blood pressure, again, the swelling, you get bloated, all that. So
Right.
I mean, I do know to stay away from certain things for that reason. However, I do enjoy it. But, more or less like family who's had we have heart disease in the family, who's had heart attacks and stuff. So, you always hear stay away from that. Otherwise, you'll get XYZ. So I do stay away from it, but not so much anymore.
Yes, and as you know that, we have this phenomenal salt that we use, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I've gotten a lot of people addicted to this salt. They think I'm some kind of a pusher. People do love salt, and ours is exceptional. It's not the only great one, but there are others, but it is exceptional. So do you use our salt exclusively?
Yes.
Good. That's smart. All right. Excellent. Jackie, are you a salt person as well?
No. I don't cook with salt at all. I actually, in fact, when my mother-in-law comes over, I have a canister of table salt. When she makes certain things, she wants to use that. And I'm like, well, I have the pink salt and then Himalayan salt. I have our salt, which I actually don't cook with. I finish with. On occasion, I have cooked with it. Obviously, you use the minerals when it gets warm, but it is so good in comparison. I'm trying to transition her. She has the same canister at my house from when we lived in Staten Island because we don't touch it ever. So we do like foods that, we love olives. We love food like that, pickles that have a salty taste to it, but you add salt to our food? No. If we do, it's always the pink salt.
Well, let's talk a little bit about pink salt. We could talk specifically about our pink salt, but we could talk in general because a lot of people are into Himalayan salt, and as a result, they think all salt that has a pink or an orange
is the same.
Is the same. And it's not all the same, but it's all the same general idea. Here's the thing about these particular salts. First of all, whether it be a good Himalayan salt or what we use a combination. It's Hawaiian and Mediterranean. And we do that because it has complementary minerals in it. All right. Minerals are kind of the basic building blocks that we use in the body. And they're extremely important. And you're better off with a vitamin deficiency probably than a mineral deficiency. There was a doctor who wrote a book years ago. He said all diseases begin with a mineral deficiency. So minerals are extremely important in the body. And a good salt, if it's not messed with too much, if it's not killed by heating it up artificially and putting in those other additives in it, is going to have, like I said, about 80 essential minerals in it for you. And a lot of these minerals help with things like weight loss. The other thing about it is our salt that we use, our pink salt, check out how cool this is. It's able to bind to water, and then it's able to transport it into the cells. And for those of you who aren't aware or who are having some kind of a traumatic experience, reliving high school bio, we're made of cells. We're made of about 200 trillion cells or 2 trillion cells. I mean, it's some gigantic, crazy number that we can't get our heads around. And they're each like little factories. And for those factories to work correctly, what do they need? Well, they certainly need nutrients. They certainly need water. They certainly need oxygen. I mean, they need these basic parts of life. And the good water is the water that's inside the cells. That allows the cells to create energy to do its job. Bad water is water that never gets into the cells. So, we've heard of swelling or edema. This is excess water that's outside of the cells, right? So when you take our pink salt, and we recommend using it, not in crazy amounts.
I use it on everything.
Yeah. No, you're not supposed. You can use it on everything, but not in crazy
I mean, not
amounts,
just to
right?
eat. It's like I have
Not
an
just
extra
to eat.
bottle.
What else are you doing with it?
I make my kids gargle with it every day.
Oh, got it.
I do like.
I think you're snorting it.
Yeah. I actually need to buy more. I'm running low.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I know where you can get some. But the point is that again, the molecules of salt are able to bind to molecules of water and then transport it into the cell where it can be used to create energy. And that energy is helpful for metabolism, and that energy is helpful for healing, and it's helpful for everything that goes on. That's why we use pink salt on our program. We want to make sure that the cells have what they need to do the job. And thus, when we talk about our program, we say weight loss, but it's really a health restoration program. We're trying to restore the essentials that the body needs to function correctly. And fat loss is a nice side effect of that, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Let's discuss sugar. What have we heard about sugar?
Oh.
It's addictive.
It's addictive. True.
It makes your body crazy. It creates a lot of sludge inside your body because you gain weight and then your body doesn't work effectively.
Absolutely.
Leads to heart disease.
Nothing.
It leads to heart disease. Yes, Trisha.
You get headaches. What else? Diabetes. The list can go
Depression.
on and on. Yeah.
Yeah, all the good stuff, everything we want.
All good stuff. No, it's like you're on that roller coaster. I feel like it's like you go on a high and then you crash. High, crash.
I feel like sometimes sugar is like, it's really, shall you say, like the hidden drug. Like, you have people that are ashamed to admit, like, hey, I'm addicted to cocaine, for example. Well, guess what? The world is hidden and not in the, like, we're all addicted to sugar.
I don't know if we all are, but a lot of people certainly are, and that's a plan, right? So here's something interesting that most people don't know about. They've been tracking obesity rates in adults for decades, right? There are records of this, and for decades it was between 10 and 14%. Then starting in about the 80s, it started skyrocketing, right? To now, it's almost 2/3 of adults. So that is a huge change. Now, what happened in the interim? Well, one of the things that happened is that farmers who were growing corn, they had an excess of corn, and they had to figure out what to do with it. So what do you think they came up with? What do you think they came up with, Jackie?
Sugar.
Sucrose.
Sucrose, yeah.
Specifically, not sucrose, right? Sucrose
Corn
is
syrup.
Corn syrup.
Corn syrup.
Fructose.
High fructose corn syrup.
Yep.
And they started putting it
in everything.
In everything.
Even breads. They were putting it in breads. They were putting it in everything.
Everything. And mostly they were putting it in us. So as a result, obesity rates skyrocketed. Again, this is one of the factors. It's not necessarily the only factor, but this is something, if you do some research, you will definitely come across.
Yeah.
Obesity rates skyrocketed. Diabetes, 1 out of every 6 adults gets diabetes. Heart disease is considered the #1 killer. We recently had a pandemic, for those of you who are not aware. True story. And a lot of people sadly died from COVID. Heart disease in the long term is a much, much greater killer than COVID will be going forward. I will make that statement right now. COVID, our bodies, for the most part, are going to recognize it. Our immune systems will fight it off. There will be an immunity to it. But heart disease, people will continue to die from heart disease because, in part, for sugar, high fructose corn syrup, idleness, just bad living. Heart disease is a lifestyle disease.
Yeah.
Which is really kind of sad, isn't it?
It is. Absolutely it is. Because there are, and it's not 100%, but there's so much that you could do daily that you could avoid a lot of it. A lot of it can be avoided,
Well, Jackie, you're so conscious about this with your kids. So obviously kids like sweet things, and we know how they get when they're on sweet things. They'll start bouncing off the wall. So how do you avoid the sugar for them?
I mean, it's avoiding sugar for the most part. It's like that whole 80-20 rule. I do allow them to, if they want something, if we're out and their friends want munchkins, or if I get them donuts, but it's really such a treat for them. I don't let them have it as part of their regular diet ever. On a daily basis, I have alternatives. So we do, actually, Karim was over yesterday. So, I have a ton of healthier alternatives that I try to keep as clean as possible. And I make it part of their everyday choice. I always give them the option, but they're always the healthier choices.
Mhm.
So as long as that's what's there in front of them, they're still having something. It's filling that void, right? They feel like they need something, they have it. If they're feeling something chocolatey, we're going for the dark chocolate, the all natural, no processed chocolate. We're not going to go for necessarily, M&Ms or, things that they really shouldn't have as part of their everyday. And a friend, Isabella, was actually telling me this morning, I was packing her lunch and she goes, Mom, we had these cupcakes that we had family in from Italy, and my son picked them out. They're still here, so it has to go in the garbage because but this is what's scary. It's February 13th. These were purchased in December. There were 2 loose cupcakes in plastic. They're perfectly fine. They look like they haven't aged a day. I've gotten more wrinkles in the past 2 months than, yeah. So
Absolutely.
I was like, this bitch. She goes, Mom, oh my God. She goes, this is what my friend has. She goes, every day she has this for lunch and a Lunchable. So, and I'm like, there's just, if I give them other options, there's nothing to choose from. So I really try my hardest to remove it. I don't give them
Mhm.
those options, really.
Right.
I
that's
completely agree.
Yeah,
Mhm.
one of the problems here's one of the problems with sugar. And again, we're not gonna talk about conspiracies per se, but this is a huge problem. Sugar gives us immediate energy,
Yeah.
right? Sugar feeds our brains and gives it immediate energy.
Mhm.
For us to survive, we know we need energy.
Mm-hmm.
So the perception of our bodies and of our brains is that we need sugar because we need that energy. Now, the powers that be, the people that are creating our foods, they know this. Anything that has a survival value is prone to causing addiction. So really, the marketing strategy of food companies who make processed foods is similar to that of a drug pusher or
Mm-hmm.
a pornographer.
Yeah.
Take things that give us the perception of enhanced survival and then crank it up and get
Yeah.
us hooked on it. And
Absolutely.
that is really what goes on. And it's a
Mhm.
terrible thing. And we all want to be able to have these sweet
Mhm.
things because while we're eating it, we're not thinking about that.
No,
We're
the
just thinking that
immediate
it's delicious. We
enjoyment.
crave it, right?
Mhm.
And we're getting the quick
Yep.
boost. So, but
The,
this is the problem. Yes, Corinne.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, the truth is as hard as it is to stay off of sugar, I find that when I'm actually off of sugar, my head is clearer. I
Mm,
feel better. Like
Mhm.
there's so many more positives
Yeah.
to not being addicted to it,
You just
trying to
have to get
say.
to that point.
You have
Yeah.
to be willing to feel like you got the flu for a couple of days and then you're over the hump.
Yeah.
detoxing off sugar can feel very much like that. Trish, is that your experience?
Yes. Yes, very much. Whenever
Right.
I start, let's say if I jump on program for, to drop a few and clear my head out, I feel in the beginning the headaches are unbelievable.
Mhm.
You feel tired and then once you get through those like 3 or 4 days, you feel way clearer.
Oh,
Everything kind
yeah.
of just snaps back into normal.
Absolutely.
One of
Mhm.
the reasons that people sometimes perceive that, their weight is not a problem or as big a problem as as other people can see clearly and as other people know is because they're often in a sugar-induced fog. Sugar
Mhm.
does cause that kind of brain fog. It causes lack of sharpness.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's so subtle that you wouldn't blame it on sugar, or you
No.
wouldn't blame your tightness and body aches on sugar. But that's really often the cause of the problem.
You know,
Someone gave us a thumbs up
yeah,
there.
somebody gives the thumbs up, and it's funny. So, oh, Jen's watching. Jen, what are you
Yeah,
doing?
Jen's on vacay and she's watching us. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Jen.
You
It's
sure you
funny.
don't want to jump on the live with us?
Yeah, you want to jump in?
She's not
We're,
invited. Let her
Hi.
enjoy herself.
Go
Not
be
that
on
this
vacation,
isn't
Jen.
fun. Can't give her a
It's
special guest.
funny. My kids, they don't have processed sugar really. So when they do, I was saying this to Corinne. So both of my children sleepwalk. They talk in their sleep. They wake up so groggy and moody and like so they actually resemble, they're explaining their inflammation to me and they don't even realize it. They'll get up and like, Mom, oh, my side hurts. Oh, I didn't sleep good. Oh, whatever it was. They don't even realize it. They will talk. And when they talk, I mean, I can talk to a wall. So clearly they get it from me, but they have sugar. They talk, they mumble, they sleepwalk, they don't sleep well. And it affects them. And it's not just then and then it's over. It's like a good day or two after that for them to get back onto routine. The next day they start to crash earlier. They feel tired. They'll get dark circles under their eyes. And it's almost like their body's rejecting whatever they had.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize the connection unless you're aware of it, of course. And I'm like, I almost know every time. So it's, around the holidays, especially, it's a little bit harder. Things are closer together. So even though they're not consuming anything during the week, if we're out on a Saturday, Sunday night and celebrating, I let them have whatever it is, the cake, the pastry, whatever it might be, ice cream even. And sure enough, it's always the fact their stomachs bother them within 2 or 3 days of it. It's not necessarily, that's not immediate, but it has to run its course through the system. And it's a spiral out of fact. It's just crazy.
And that's part of the problem, right? You get this momentum, you have these cycles sometimes where, you have the sugar and that builds up a negative momentum, and then you detox off the sugar, and that's hard. And then you have to kind of build up a momentum in the other way. And in the interim, meanwhile, you're feeling crappy, your energy is low, you're groggy, you might get headaches at first because your blood sugar system is not really working right.
Right.
By the way, one of the reasons our program is so effective is because, Corinne, I'll get you in a minute. I just want to make this point, is because we're able to kind of fix that blood sugar system. We're able to get the cells to go from being insulin resistant, right, where the cells are not accepting the insulin, to where they're insulin sensitive. And when that happens, everything works right, and there's less chance of diabetes and heart disease. And it's one of the blessings of the program. It's a hormonal fix, because when you're talking about sugar, you have to talk about insulin in the body.
Right.
Insulin's job is to keep the sugar out of your bloodstream. And then it can't do the job if the cells are so resistant that it won't accept the insulin and the sugar. So it builds up in the bloodstream, right? And then all the problems from that stem. Yes, Corinne.
Mike Morris just told me he's at our office to fix our printer, so I have to head off.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Note. Yes. Thank you for that data. Apparently, our printer needs fixing, and the fixer is there, and Corinne has to go handle that. All right. Excellent. So here's another problem, and we were talking about the food industry, and I hate to say it because I'm not this guy, but there are bad guys in this story.
Oh yeah.
And the food industry, they know that people know that sugar is bad. So what do they create?
Alternatives. I mean,
alternatives, sugar substitutes.
Yeah, it's even worse. And I think a lot of it, the truth is, anybody in the industry is doing it. They are making money off of this, right? This is their livelihood. They're making money. And it's not to say that they're doing it to harm people, but they are doing it to save more money so they can make more money. And it's a lot cheaper to provide, non-quality products. I mean, there is a price difference if you walk into Whole Foods or if you walk into a ShopRite candy section as opposed to an organic section in Whole Foods, Wegmans, ShopRite, sabotage, wherever you're shopping. And the healthier choices tend to be more expensive. And a lot of people stray away from that, but they don't realize in the long run, you're actually going to be spending more money on unhealthy products.
Well, the truth is, Jackie, is that it is hard. It's difficult to feed a nation.
Yeah, of course.
And in order to do it, and the way our lives are structured now, it's not like in the old days where there'd be a farmer's market, or we live in the old country where we're walking every day to purchase our food fresh and our refrigerators are this big
or that big. Yeah.
that's kind of how people used to live. We don't live like that anymore. So there are
No.
challenges, and
Mhm.
we want to be sensitive to that. We don't want to just throw everybody under the bus
Of
who
course.
has
No,
issues
no, of
with
course.
foods. But it is factually so that some people in that industry, they don't see their job as to create health. Actually, most don't. They see their job as to sell their products.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, as far as artificial sweeteners, Trish,
Yeah.
I know you said that your doctor had warned you about sugar or salt. Has he ever said anything, he or she ever said anything about artificial sweeteners?
No, not really that I remember ever. They also never mentioned anything about losing weight. It was never an issue. It was always, you should lose weight, but never any, here are some steps for you, to help you. It was never that way. So I really don't even remember them even mentioning ever stay away from certain products.
Right. So diet is never really kind of a priority. It's not something
Really.
that they think about.
No.
They use the tools that they have, which is an issue in and of itself, right? If we're going to call
Right.
medicine healthcare, then there should be some proactive way of creating health.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I mean, the responsibility is ours.
Yeah,
And
of course.
so, right, it's each individual. I mean, we should kind of have some understanding about why our body works, and that's one of the things we're trying to assist people with. But what's your understanding of artificial sweeteners?
I know they're not good for you. I really never, I honestly never really did the sweet and low thing. Like that just, I never did that. I just always heard it wasn't great for you to
I know.
begin with, so don't use it. So I
Yeah.
never did. So it was either eat the sweet stuff or the artificial
Just
stuff,
don't
and
agree.
I would might as well just go for
The
the
real
sweet
thing.
stuff. Yeah, the real thing.
Right. And it's hard to say which way you'd be worse off. But
Right.
again, artificial
Serve two
sweeteners
evils.
are pretty abundant. I mean, we all know people who are addicted to Diet Coke, right? And we saw
Oh
in the
yeah.
Super Bowl that there were several commercials, I think
Yeah,
for
there
Coke
were.
Zero. I'm not sure what that's sweetened with, but artificial sweeteners can be some of the most dangerous things that human beings ingest.
Mhm.
They should be avoided at all costs. Depending on the one that we're talking about, we could be talking about things that cause actually death of our cells in our nervous system. That does not sound like a formula for happiness or for health. And they don't even positively impact diabetes or heart disease based on the studies, or at least based on some studies, because I'm sure if you looked hard enough, there would be some studies that say they're wonderful. But
Mm.
Of
that's not
course.
the case. Let's hear what Jen has to say. Jen, how's the weather down there in Florida? Med schools need to start teaching baseline nutrition and root cause healing. Bad stuff. It's true, and we get into the philosophies of health. What is health? What is being taught in our schools? Unfortunately, the schools are sponsored by the food and the pharmaceutical industries, so that's what doctors are going to learn, and there's not as much of an emphasis now. That's changed a bit. I think that there are probably still hospitals that have within them McDonald's and that feed everyone Jello who comes in and orange
Oh,
juice
I'm sure.
right.
I'm sure.
Jen says the weather's beautiful.
I'm sure it is, Jen. It's gonna be 60 this week too.
Yeah, why don't you just stay?
Yeah.
Get
I
out of
actually
here.
think it's colder in some parts of Florida than it is here this week.
Yeah, it's gorgeous up here. Yeah, you went to the bad weather, Jen. You're gonna have to wear three coats. We will be outside in shorts. Thank you very much. All right. So, is there anything else that we feel is important to impart to people in this month that, although we have the Super Bowl and although we have Valentine's Day, is supposed to be a heart healthy month? That's what we're emphasizing.
Well, heart health, I just think you have to, I mean, small changes are big. It's very hard. And we're fully aware that, especially when it comes to sugar and salt, whether or not you believe your so-called routine, using it all the time, this is how you always did it, it's still an addiction, because if you feel you can't make those changes, you're stuck. So small changes are super important. I would start with, like, for me, actually, doing the program the first time, I always used to put a creamer in my coffee, even if it was, milk or what was the other, International Delight, the vanilla cream, French
Yeah.
vanilla creamer.
Uh-huh.
Like, it was most amazing. I
Very
taste it
tasty,
now
yeah.
and it leaves such a bad taste in my mouth.
It gives you phlegm.
Yes, it's very weird. And I'm like, now when I have processed sugars, I get that same taste.
Right.
It's a very strange, I don't enjoy it at all. So my coffee is now black and I use the sweet leaf stevia. Finding your alternatives to still have your fill. Once you become accustomed to certain things, it's harder to change. So you just have to find that. You just have to find
It's
that
hard to go
happy
cold
medium.
turkey. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I drink my coffee black with just the stevia and cinnamon. You know, there are definitely things that you can do to increase your heart health or just health in general on a daily basis while making those transitions. You know, the cinnamon's great for your blood sugar. They're all connected. We're all
we do have a client, and her name is, we'll call her Catherine. Now, so Catherine is one of these people who did fantastic on our program. She went back to old habits. She gained some back. So, she lost it. She gained some back. She lost it. Anyway, Catherine has been remarkably consistent for probably the last 2-3 years. She keeps her weight really consistent. And I asked her what the secret was, and she said, no added sugar ever. Now, the interesting thing about her is that she owns a bagel shop. She does not use her own product.
Yep.
That takes some discipline and some
Absolutely.
doing. And it's one of these things, it's like, it's great to have choice. It's great to live in a country that's so abundant that we have all of these choices. We can go out and we can get bagels. There's a bakery on every corner. We have a lot of options. It does make it remarkably difficult. And I think you're right. I think that we do need to make incremental changes. We have to start out with the understanding that certain things will not promote health.
Correct.
And finding substitutes seems like the correct strategy, because most people cannot do what Catherine does, where she has no added sugars and she doesn't even eat her own product.
Oh yeah, and listen, who doesn't love a bagel?
Right.
It's those things, they're challenging. And that's why I feel like it's also, if you're omitting those, like, for example, you should not be having a bagel daily. It shouldn't be that you're having a bacon, egg, and cheese on a bagel Monday through, Saturday and Sunday take off. If anything, when you're having things of that nature, you enjoy it more. It's a one time, it's isolated. You have it, you enjoy it, you're passing on it. Or you have it, you're not enjoying it, and you're like, my body doesn't need this anymore. There's something else I can have.
Right.
So you have to give yourself that chance, but doing it one day is not going to give you, the results. Or it's like, oh, I'm sick now, let me just go take multivitamins. That's just not how it works.
Yes. We can't necessarily make up for all the bad with doing one or two good things. Yes.
And it's simple things, even with hydration. That's another conversation we should have too. But, my daughter, after swimming this weekend, I kept pushing her water bottle in front of her when we got home, but she was tired. She didn't feel like she was thirsty. And I'm like, Isabella, you got to drink water. I'm like, especially after what you swam today, you have to hydrate. You're going to be hurting later. Sure enough, I'm really sore. I'm like, well, drinking all that water now before you go to bed is not going to help what you should have done for 5 hours. So, she was preoccupied and we had company yesterday. So I understand it gets hard, but you don't wait for the problem to be, hitting you in the face. You don't want to wait until your lips are dry and you feel thirsty. You don't want to wait until you're diagnosed with something to fix it. You have to kind of make those changes along the way.
Well, you don't have to, but you're certainly better off.
You should.
So on that note, let's wish everyone a happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day.
Or too much champagne. And we'll see everyone next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.